Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this joint presentation by Creative Virtual and Spitch. I am Gary Williams from Spitch, and I'm joined by Liam Ryan from Creative Virtual. Our topic for today is the Omnichannel solution, covering chatbots and voice. Why this is important for customer experience. I'll also describe two typical use cases for this approach. Please do post any questions you have via the Q&A panel on your screens. And if we have time today during the talk, we will answer them here and now. But if not, feel free to visit our booth, block some time on our calendars, or get in touch via whatever means is convenient, and we'll give you the contact details at the end of this talk. I'm now going to tell you a few details about my company, Spitch. So on to the next slide. So first, we're headquartered in Zurich in Switzerland, and we have international offices in London, Milan, and Madrid. And amongst our growing client list, we have tier 1 Swiss banks. And these are companies with impeccable reputation, operating standards, and dedication to customer service. Now, this is great, not just obviously for my company, but it sends a really positive signal to the rest of our technology sector in general, because the Swiss banks are traditionally quite conservative organizations, and therefore they're only willing to make changes to their well-trodden services where it involves the use of highly reliable and proven solutions. So, for today's event, this is great, so long may that continue for our sector. Our philosophy at Spitch is we believe in providing our customers with really quick wins in both cost saving and customer experience improvement, and providing solutions which can help our clients to realize their visions in realistic timeframes. So wherever we can, rapid implementations so that they can actually get using this technology and have the customers use this technology and hit the ground running. Now I'm going to hand over to Liam to introduce himself and Creative Virtual.
Thanks, Gary. Hi, everyone. And first off, thanks very much for joining the webinar today. And just really to echo what Gary said there, if you've got any questions as we're going through, please just drop them in the window and we'll answer them as we can. As you may have guessed, obviously, Gary and I are in two completely separate locations, and we're trying to share one presentation on a platform that neither of us really know that well. So please bear with us if there are any technical hitches as we're going through this one, but we'll try and keep them to a minimum. Just to give you a bit of background about Creative Virtual, we've been providing chatbots now since 2003. And as you would expect, over that time, we've seen many changes in the capabilities of these systems as they developed, which we'll hopefully show you as we go through today's presentation. We're a UK-based company with offices across the globe. We've now got just over 70 clients, and we're in various different industries, from financial services, telco, retail, government, etc. To give you an idea of some of the awards that we won recently, last year we received a Product Leadership Award from Frost & Sullivan for AI Enhanced Customer Service. We got a 5-star rating from Gartner. And in 2017, we actually won the Queen's Award for Innovation. So obviously, the point I'm making is here that we have a lot of experience working within the chatbot space. And our chatbots are kind of deployed in various different channels, from customer support, employee support, contact center. And what we're seeing more increasingly is them being deployed in social media. Now, as I said, I think that's probably enough on the two companies. So what I'd like to do now is to pass back to Gary, who will outline a bit more detail of what we'd like to go through with you today. Over to you, Gary.
Thanks, Liam. So before I move on and talk about today's use cases, I want to draw your attention to this chart, which is part of the results of an extensive survey done by Contact Babel back in March of last year. And they surveyed business leaders to gauge their opinion on the importance of various customer experience developments to their organisations in the following 2 years. So this will be going through to into next year. And a major finding from the survey was that the most important factor for future success of the CX programme was the need to continue and strengthen executive commitment to CX. So that's a really important takeaway from today. You know, it's all very well as talking about the technology, but it's getting that messaging right and it's reaching the right people in organizations. So this is kept at the top of the priority list in terms of CX improvement. Other things we can take from this survey, AI-enabled self-service led the group of technologies in terms of importance. And in fact, that was a significant jump up from what had been found out from the previous survey by Contact Babel. But as you can clearly see in the highlighted part in the middle, the need for omnichannel was regarded as very important to 55% of respondents. And again, this is one of the big takeaways from today's talk. So I'm going to move on and talk about today's first use case today, which is for a booking system. And it's important to realise that, you know, a few things about omnichannel before we just plough on, because I want everyone to know what we're talking about. I think it's something that gets spoken about a lot and it's open to a lot of interpretation. But it simply means to us that the solution provides for multiple yet synchronized digital communication channels into the host platform. Now, whether that's serving your customers or employees, and that it shouldn't actually make any difference which particular channel is used at any one time. However, the important aspect is that if that user decides to jump off that channel before the conclusion of the interaction, then there must exist the mechanisms to be able to allow that same user to rejoin the interaction and continue later on, whether on the same channel or a different type of channel. So that means in order to provide a truly omnichannel experience, the solution must retain the identity of the user, the intent, as we call it, or the nature of their interaction, and the stage reached previously, so that if they then rejoin, the system can simply continue the dialogue and get the user to a satisfactory conclusion, rather than, as in the case in most situations, I'm sure we'd all agree, get taken right back to the beginning of the conversation. And note that this even happens when we are passed from one human agent to another. So to avoid that is a massive feather in the cap for any omnichannel solution. So we're going to move to the first use case, and this concerns an automated booking system. In our scenario, it's a medical appointment management solution, but it could easily apply to any booking system, such as for a hotel room, a restaurant, a flight, you name it. The use cases are endless for a booking system. So first of all, I'm going to put a diagram up that just shows you a high-level conversation flow. And we won't spend much time on this, but the reason I've put this up is I want everyone to realise that at the very high level, we take the envisaged logic flow for that business case and we model that. So a long time before we actually, use our high-level tools to model this in the solution, we discuss this and we work out with the business leaders what the required logical flow is at that high level. So now we're going to jump in and we'll actually see that logic in play when we actually talk our way through. And there's a series of screen grabs. So in our example, where we start, the customer's using the Chatbot channel. And in this case, our customer is going to be an outpatient because this is for managing a medical appointment. And first of all, they get a welcome message conveyed by text via the chatbot, and they're authenticated. So you'll see that it asks for their name and their NHS number. Note that the system is careful to explain where they can find that. The solution then, in turn, accesses the calendar, and in this case, this would be in the appointments module of the hospital system, and the chatbot informs the customer what appointments already exist and also provides the options, in this case, of rearranging or cancelling an appointment. Now, again, in our scenario, the user takes the option to rearrange. Then the system looks for the next available slot in that calendar and offers that again in the form of a text response back through the chatbot. Note that everyday language is used both by the system and the customer. No special terminology is needed, and the solution takes care of interpreting what is being typed using conversational AI. In this case, they have the option of reserving for 24 hours. And although the customer responds yes to the new appointment slot, in this example, they're interrupted by something and so are forced to break off the conversation, shall we say, a little prematurely. However, the system is keeping a careful note of what is happening and when, so that it has the ability to pick up the conversation with that customer at a later time, or, if needed, relay the details of that conversation to a human operator or trigger some sort of alert, depending on the solution requirements. Now, again, in our scenario later on, as you can see on this slide, they re-engage with the system, but using telephone. And they're put through to the voice bot that's handling that telephone line. Because it's a secure system, they have to authenticate the user, but the system then quickly retrieves the information from the previous or ongoing conversation in which it has rearranged an appointment, and using natural language tells the caller what appointments exist, including the rearranged one, and asks if they wish to cancel or rearrange, or if they just want information. Now, neither cancel nor rearrange is selected by the caller at this point, thereby confirming the appointment. And at that moment, and in our case, they just need information in order to prepare for their visit. So the system provides this using a text-to-speech engine. And finally, the conversation is concluded. Note that the function of providing information is an important feature for any automated system in order to provide a comprehensive service to the customer. So the original conversation has been picked up from that initial chatbot conversation and restarted in the voice channel and now finally concluded. We have the recorded conversation, which you will now hear, and then following on from that, Liam will take over to talk about our second use case for today.
Welcome to the Hospital Appointments Manager. Please have your NHS number ready. If you received an appointment notification, whether in the post or via digital, you will find your 9-digit NHS number near the top of that letter. Please say your first and last name.
Gary Williams.
Now please read out your 9-digit NHS number, one number at a time.
999666333.
Great. Let me check your appointments calendar. You currently have the appointment A blood test exam in London on the 9th of February 2021 at 10 o'clock. Do you wish to rearrange an appointment, cancel an appointment, or get information ready for when you attend?
Information.
Please arrive in good time at the hospital, allowing an extra 15 minutes for parking and walking to the clinic. You can find a map of our hospital on our website. Due to the COVID crisis, we ask that you please wear a face mask at all times whilst in the hospital and observe the distancing rules shown in the different areas. Also,
Gary, for the sake of time, I'll just stop that where it is. I'm sure everyone kind of like gets the idea of how we've kind of like really it's showing on the screen how that actually works in voice there. Yeah, thanks very much for going through that one, Gary. As we just seen there, what we've done there is kind of give an idea of how we can provide this omni-channel end-to-end experience in a B2C environment. And what I wanted to go through here now is an example of how we're able to provide the same type of omni-channel experience, which is completely joined up, as Gary was mentioning, but this time through a kind of like an employee engagement option. So what we're saying with this example is that the user actually starts the conversation within the voice channel, and they go through the authentication process as required by that actual employer. And again, this could be the various steps that it is, and it's going to change for everyone. But once they're actually authenticated, the voice bot actually checks to see if the user has any outstanding tickets, which they might need a status update on, or whether they're trying to actually report a new issue. So again, it's all this automate the whole flow, do it as a self-service option. Now, in this scenario, what we're doing is with the user saying they want to report an issue, and in this case, it's around getting a digital badge. Again, I'm not going to play all of it. I'll just play a sample of the voice.
Welcome to the automated help desk service. Please say your name and surname.
Gary Williams.
What is the name of your organization?
Speech.
Thanks. I see that.
Again, likewise, for the sake of time, I'm sure we get how this flow works through the voice channel there. Now, as part of this scenario, what we're saying is that for whatever reason, the users had to actually leave the voice channel. They might have had an incoming call or whatever it is. And at a further point in time, they pick up the channel again, but this time within the chatbot. So they've gone through the same process of getting themselves authenticated. But as Gary was saying at the beginning, the whole principle of the Omnichannel series is although they've left the voice channel, the conversation is being picked up at the exact point where they left within the chatbot channel. So the user doesn't have to go through the whole lot again. They've got all of their previous questions and answers are being held within the chatbot. So it provides that whole seamless experience of it. And again, by using our conversational AI platform, what we're able to do is help the user get to where they need to do and resolve the issue in a completely automated way. Again, in this case, what we've actually done is as well, we've given the user the session number if they need it for whatever reason. And this can be stored in their channel of choice because we know who that person is. So that could be within the chat bot, it could be SMS to them or emailed or whatever it would be. And we're also giving them some option to leave some feedback of their experience working with it. We're getting short of time, so I'm going to quietly rush on forward a bit here. Okay, so that's kind of like just two examples of how we can actually combine both the voice and the chatbot channel to deliver an omni-channel experience. But what I really want to cover off here now is just two or three tips and recommendations that we would suggest, for anyone that's looking to start their own project around this one. Okay. Number one, our advice would really be to work with an experienced vendor who is looking at this very much as a long-term partnership rather than just a quick sale. And from their own experience, they'll be able to help you avoid all the common pitfalls that arise, as well as advising you on best practice. And another thing which we think would be very useful to bear in mind, whether the team you're working with has any experience within your sector or your industry. So they could be aware of any requirements that might be unique to your particular project, such as industry requirements, financial service regulations, GDPR, etc., things along those sort of lines. The second tip we give around the technology is work with an established provider that has a proven product that has a history of being successful, as well as being able to scale. Because what we have found is that one or two clients that have come on board to us, they've started off with whatever they started with, but when they were looking to expand it, add more functionality, do more integration, that sort of type thing, the product wasn't able to scale. So I guess it's really a bit of future proofing. And the other quite important thing is to really make sure that whoever you go with actually own the IP rather than relying on technology that belongs to someone else. So they in turn can develop their technology along with your requirements rather than being limited to the third-party provider's product roadmap on that one.
Yes, yeah.
Gary, did you want to pick up on
finally, and very quickly, it's important to make sure that these channels are fully synchronized and it is a truly omni-channel product that's on offer, and also that it can integrate to your back end. So sorry to rush over that last tip, but please come and talk to us. And just to wrap up, thank you very much, everybody, for listening. Please come to our booth or contact us via email or whatever method you want. Thank you.